In the spring of 2022, local fisherman James Turner began noticing something unusual on Blackwater Lake. Every night, just after midnight, a single white light appeared near the center of the water. At first, he assumed it belonged to another boat. But the light never moved. It simply hovered above the lake. Night after night, always in the same place, always at the same time. One evening, James decided to investigate. He launched his boat shortly before midnight and headed toward the middle of the lake. The water was calm. The sky was clear. There were no other boats nearby. At exactly 12:03 a.m., the light appeared, a small white glow floating above the surface. James checked his GPS. Nothing unusual. He checked the lake map. The location was marked as deep water. There shouldn't have been anything there. As he approached, the light became brighter. Strangely, it didn't reflect on the water. It looked almost disconnected from its surroundings, like it wasn't really there. James stopped the boat and stared at it. The lake was completely silent. Then the boat's fish finder suddenly shut off. A few seconds later, the GPS screen went black. The engine continued running, but every electronic device on board stopped working. The white light remained motionless. Then, it slowly moved away from him, without making a sound, without disturbing the water. James followed it for several minutes. Suddenly, the light vanished. Not faded, not dimmed, vanished. The electronics immediately turned back on. The GPS restarted. The fish finder returned to normal. The lake looked exactly as it had before. When James returned to shore, he told no one, because he wasn't sure anyone would believe him. The next night, the light appeared again. The next morning, James visited the local marina. He casually asked a few older fishermen about strange lights on the lake. Most laughed, but one elderly fisherman became quiet. He said he had seen the same light more than 40 years earlier, always after midnight, always near the center of the lake. Curious, James searched old newspaper archives at the town library. After hours of searching, he found something unexpected. A newspaper article from 1978. The headline read, "Mysterious Light Reported on Blackwater Lake." The article described the same white glow, the same location, the same time of night. Over the following weeks, James found more reports. 1986, 1987, 1988 different witnesses. The same story. One detail appeared in nearly every report. Electronic equipment often stopped working whenever the light appeared. A few nights later, James returned to the lake. This time, he brought a camera. At 12:03 a.m., the light appeared again. He raised the camera and took several photographs. When he checked the images, the lake was visible. The stars were visible, but the light wasn't there, as if the camera had never seen it. Then the white glow began moving across the water. Slowly, silently, toward the far shore. James started the engine and followed. The light continued forward, leading him deeper into the darkness. James followed the light across the lake. For nearly 20 minutes, it moved silently over the water. Then it stopped. The lake became completely still. No wind, no waves, nothing. James looked around. The far shore was barely visible in the darkness. Then he noticed something strange. According to his GPS, he was nowhere near the center of the lake anymore. He was close to the northern shore. Yet the light had led him there without him realizing how far he had traveled. Suddenly, the glow began to fade. Within seconds, it disappeared. The lake returned to normal. His GPS restarted. The fish finder came back on. Everything worked again. A few days later, James reviewed an old map of the area. There, marked near the northern shore, was something no longer shown on modern maps. A small settlement, abandoned decades ago. It had once stood exactly where the light had stopped. No one knows why the light appears. No one knows what causes it. But even today, fishermen on Blackwater Lake still report seeing the same white glow. Always after midnight. Always in the same place. Waiting.